Hi, welcome back to Repairing Lawnmowers for Profit. I just thought I'd film this short video while I'm out here just to show you an example of what people do to the lawnmowers before you go and pick them up. Now, I've shown this in the previous video. I've actually got this pull cord all correct now, and as I was saying about the cable in the last video, that it's all slack, and this part actually you can move it with your fingers. Now it should actually be like this part. I actually have a replacement part here. As you can see, it's real difficult to get your thumb on. It springs back, as you can see. That's because there's a great big spring under here that pulls it across. It's supposed to pull it back. Now this can only have been removed on purpose. This is the sort of thing that people do, and the reason that as you can see it's missing under there, the reason people do that, the guy I bought this from, well, actually he actually gave me it for free, but the guy I got it from, he actually said it was his father-in-law's, and he was now unable to use it. It was too heavy for him to start. So what he's obviously done is, rather than having to stop the machine to change the grass box, he's obviously wanted to leave the engine running while he changed the grass box. Now these features are on here for a reason, for a safety reason. So he's been taking this grass box off and emptying it, putting it back on. Obviously if he was quite elderly, he's probably been struggling to start this up and pull the cord over, and he didn't want to keep doing that. So these are the safety things that people defeat. Now another good thing that people think they're doing is they often get a cable tie, cable tie this handle, so it basically does the same thing. That holds it on, so the motor will keep running while you change the box. So it's not a good thing to do. I don't think it's a clever thing to do, and when I get these to repair, I always make sure that they are safe, and if it's got a cable tie on the handle, I'll take it off. And this one on here, I've only seen this a couple of times before really, but I'm going to have to put another spring on under here now just to make sure that this actually clicks on and off as it should. But I think the easiest way to do this, I have done it before a couple of times, is not to try and get that spring off the old part and just put it on. The actual easy way to do this is just to replace this full part. Just put a couple of bolts back through here, just take this whole mechanism off and swap it over. That will take you less time than it will to try and get that spring off and pull it on over the top of the new part here. So I'm just going to swap this whole part over. But they're the sort of things that you come across when you pick up these lawnmowers from all different locations. So I wanted to share that with you. If you get anything like that, make sure it's correct before you send it out again. So to do this repair, I've just taken the starter recoil off, just these three parts here, and I'm just going to take off the parts you can see in here. I've got this petrol tank's actually in the way, so I need to unbolt it from this side. I need to unbolt it from the top here as well, and make sure that you don't disconnect the hose which is underneath here by accident when taking it off. I'm going to lift that out of the way. I'm going to take this part off just so it's a very quick fix compared to spending a long time trying to put a spring on. There's also this little bolt here on the back of the petrol tank I forgot to mention, so we'll just take that off. This petrol tank should just be able to move that out of the way. As I said, make sure that you keep your eye on this fuel line at the back, that you don't uncover that, and we'll just gently lift that out of the way, making sure that there's no spill. The next thing I'm going to do is just remove this cable here. As you can see, it's like a plastic lug here. You can use some long nose pliers and just sneak these in either with your fingers or some long nose pliers, and once you get them tight together again, hopefully you can see well there, you should just be able to push these. I'll pull it back through the casing, slip that out with a little bit of fiddling about. Should just be able to get this cable off. As you can see there, that frees up this part. So obviously I need to undo this part here. I've got to take this stem out of here and just sort this wiring out. I'm not sure if that's supposed to go around there like that. I'll take a look at another mower I've got in just to check it is correct, but it looks a bit different to me than I'm used to seeing. And take that one off and that one off, and we'll just pull this part off and swap it over. As I mentioned earlier, these actual wires here are actually causing me a problem now. As they're looped together, the quickest way to do this, rather than undo these screws on the Microswitch, I'm just going to pull this wire off this ignition coil here, pop it out the front, through these clips. A little bit tricky to do. You can see there, I've just got this off. I'm actually just going to pull this underneath here, push this through. That's the quickest way to do that, rather than try and unscrew the actual microswitch itself. So that's nicely out of the way. I've just got this one last part to take off here. We unscrew this. Hopefully we'll have this out of the way. We can replace it with this new part. So I'll just pop this one off. As I mentioned before in previous videos, it's always a good idea, especially things like wiring, where that goes, that microswitch, if you don't know where that went, it actually goes under the front here, and up here, it doesn't go around the back and go anywhere near the flywheel. So always take photographs if you're not sure where things go back together. We'll just lift this part out of the way, and I'm ready to swap this over with a new part. Just a quick tip, as I've offered this new part up here, I've just lightly tightened these in. Now you need to get this on flat, you need to just pull this against a spring. It's quite awkward to do and film it, so I'm doing it separate, but another way of course you could do it is just to pop your cable back in and just tie it up at the top with a cable tie, of course not starting the machine like that, just to keep the tension off you while you're trying to tighten this up. So you need to pull this back. I'm just going to tighten these two parts up here. You can see here that one just wants tightening down, and this part will be on. Before I put this back together now, as you can see, I've got these two parts tightened up. Just forgot to mention as well, make sure you put your earthing cable back under here before you put this stem back in. Tighten it up, make sure it's right at the bottom, it's nice and tight. That's there to earth is this microswitch. So you can see here, you can hear the microswitch is working right. It's all opening and closing correctly. I'm just going to pop this cable back under here, hook that back in, push this through from the other side. There we go, that's in. Make sure these little black plastic clips are just popped out to the side. Make sure that you've got a good firm connection there, and hopefully when I pull this lever at the top here, this should operate. You can see here, got a little bit of playing about to do. It's not quite operating, that switch. I'm just going to make a few alterations on that and make sure the switch is working before I put this back together. As you can see here, I've just had to adjust this micro switch very slightly and just curve it around this corner because it only just opens and closes on the pull on the handle. If you listen, I just bent it around the corner so it's the same as the one that came off, just slightly different. Obviously I would like to adjust it on the cable, but the cable is in a fixed position, so apart from drilling the handle out and moving it down a bit to make the cable a bit shorter, it would have been a bit better. There must be quite a bit of cable stretch in it, but just a slightly different part. And of course this brake here actually will have won a slightly different rate to the old one, but with a little bit of doing fiddling about, I'm just getting that, bending it around the corner. It's all locked up tightly together now, so I can put this petrol tank back on and we can give this a test. Put this recoil cover back on as well. This might seem like a long way around of doing things if you could get a spring on, but actually to try and get a spring on underneath there, it's nearly impossible. I would have thought it was impossible, so you'd have to take the part off anyway to replace the spring. If you're taking it off, it makes sense to swap the whole part over, but of course if you got the part off, you could swap the spring over. You might not have any problems with the microswitch if you did do that, but there's a few different ways of doing it, but the way I like to do it is just to replace a complete part and I know everything's correct. So I'm just going to do a few test starts on this and just let go of this handle, make sure that it does stop when it's supposed to, make sure everything's safe. So yeah, I'm happy with that mower now. Now that, as I said in the previous video, this mower's cost me nothing at all, so I don't mind spending sort of 20-25 minutes doing a replacement and making sure that when this goes out as another sale, that it's safe for somebody. Very important that you do this, and as I've said before, make sure that there's no cable tie around the safety lever at the top as well. Make sure when you send these mowers out that they're safe, make sure that there's no cable tie on, all the switches are working correctly, and also make sure the blade's on tight underneath and it's sitting on the two little pins that go through the blade adapter. So some safety tips there and a little bit of work on that microswitch, swapping that part over. Hopefully this video will help someone out. Thanks very much for watching. I hope to see you soon.